Craig Ripley here. Welcome to Living Off the Slab. Now you see that today I've got my tent set up. That's because it's been a little over a week since I've been back and I haven't cleaned anything up yet. So today I'm going to set my tent up and get the tarp and my ground cloth out, and we're going to clean them all off so that I can put them away until we camp again the next time. Well, is there going to be a next time? Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, I am back. I got my dust buster out, got inside my tent, cleaned it out a bit, and now it's all ready to pack back up again. So I thought that before I do that, let me go through and maybe do a review of camping and the camping equipment that we used as well. So first of all, the tent here, right? This is the Sierra Designs Flash 2 FL, and it is a tent, as I described in my initial review of it, that has an integrated fly on it. So it's much easier to put up, and really helps to keep you dry if it's raining and so forth, and that did work extremely well. We never really had to put up or tear down the equipment in the rain per se, but we had rain during the night, so things were wet in the morning or wet in the evening when we were putting our campsite together. And I never had any problem with getting any water inside the tent or anything whatsoever. So the tent overall worked great. The one thing that I did have a little bit of an issue with is with my cot, right? Remember that I was carrying the Thermarest cot, and the problem I was having is that if I assemble it outside the tent, I can't get it in this tent, right? This one is a little bit smaller than my previous tent. So I had to assemble the cot inside and then very carefully flip it over inside because the tent is not quite long enough for it. So that was the only real issue that I had at all, again, with the tent and with the equipment. So speaking of the cot, here it is. Would I carry the cot again? And then yes, absolutely. All three of us had various versions of this cot, and we all said it helped us sleep much better. Although, again, I'll get to this in a minute. I was still having trouble sleeping while we were camping. But this did make it much more comfortable, and I definitely would continue to use it. All right. Second thing that goes along with the cot is this Sea to Summit Comfort Plus air mattress. And this was really comfortable. I actually slept on it a couple of times without the cot, and it was nearly as comfortable as having the cot. The cot basically just gets you up off the ground a little bit more. But overall, this is really nice. It has separate air chambers on each side, so you can blow up one hard and one up soft. And again, helps to make your bed a lot more comfortable. The problem I had with it is, as you can see, is getting it consistently folded to go back in this bag. It wants to suck air in very easily, so as you're trying to get it out, it was hard to get the mat back in the bag again on a consistent basis. One time I could do it, one time I couldn't. So I think what I'm going to do is just get a longer bag and put it in there. So next we've got the tarp that I was carrying and the tarp poles. And we used this, I believe, 3 times on the trip. It rained on us once and hailed on us. It was nice to have it during that time. The other 2 times we put it up because it looked like it might be threatening rain, but it never really did rain. So again, it was very useful to have. It's like one of those things like a first aid kit. You want it along just in case, but most of the time you're probably going to be carrying it around and you really don't need it. So would I carry it again? Well, if I was going on a long trip like this, definitely, because there are going to be those days when it's going to be raining, you're going to need some extra shelter. All right. So the last piece of camping equipment here is the chair here from REI, right? This is their little Flex Light chair. And it's a very nice light chair. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room and easy to put together. I guess the issue that we had here was that I really only used this a couple of times. We ended up having picnic tables in every campground, so did we really need these? No. I thought that what was going to happen is that when we camped, we were going to end up sitting around a fire and we'd all be in our little chairs and telling stories and talking about the day and talking about the next day, but that never really happened. So did I need to carry this? No. Probably could just leave it home. All right, so I think that leads me into, well, talking about camping in general. What was my experience, at least, with camping while we were on this trip? And, well, to be honest with you, I was a bit disappointed in it. As I'd mentioned earlier, I thought that what was going to happen is we'd get into camp, we'd set it up, we'd hang around the campfire and so forth, have some camaraderie, and that just didn't end up happening, right? We would get into camp, 5, 6 o'clock at night. We would rush to set it up. We would run out, get a couple of beers, have a couple of warm beers, sitting at the picnic table there. Maybe take a shower and then go to bed, right? We were getting up at 5 o'clock or sometimes before every morning, getting on the road. So we were in bed early. So it ended up turning into basically just rushing to camp, setting it up, going to bed, getting up, tearing it down, and going again. And there was never really any of the enjoyment of being in the campground and so forth that I was expecting to have. In addition, I was having a really hard time sleeping while we were camping. I mean, you can see it in those videos that I was posting along the way. You can see when I was just absolutely exhausted. And it wasn't so much for the riding, it was the fact that I was not sleeping well while we were camping. Even though the cot and my mat was really comfortable, I just could not sleep. I tried, covering my eyes with a mask, and that didn't make any difference. The light really wasn't the problem here. It was just that I could not relax and I could not get comfortable at night. What was happening is my arms were actually falling asleep, and that didn't matter whether I was just on the mat or just on the cot. I don't know what it was. I think that, riding all day long and having your arms up here in this position and then laying down and not being able to, really move all that much when you're in a sleeping bag, that was kind of pushing my shoulders in here, and it was just really giving me, a lot of issues, again, with my hands and so forth. So I would sleep for a couple hours. The guys would tell me they heard me snoring, and I'm sure I was, but then I would wake up, and I would be up for 2 or 3 hours, and then I might get another couple hours of sleep. So I was waking up exhausted every day that we were camping. Again, you can see it in those videos. So after a while, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to hotels. So sometimes the guys would join me. A couple of times they decided to continue camping, but I had to make sure that I got a good night's sleep. So would I do camping again? Well, yeah, I would, but not in the fashion that we did on this trip. I think that if we were going to plan another trip and we were wanting to camp, we would do it one of two ways. One, we would only do a couple 100 miles a day. We would get in early, be able to set the camp up, be able to, have a good meal, be able to have some of that camaraderie that I was talking about, and then not have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and feel that we need to hit the road again. We can just have a leisurely morning and get on the road at 9 or 10, and that would be much more enjoyable to me. At least I think so. Either that, or we go somewhere and we set up camp and we leave it there for several days and we use the campground as a base to go out and do some riding and come back to, right? Then I can see that it might be an enjoyable experience. You'd get used to sleeping in the campground and so forth. But the way that we did it, we were riding for 8 or 9 hours a day, and then getting in and setting up the campgrounds and so forth. It just didn't work for me very well. Now the other guys, they enjoyed it more. They enjoyed the camping a bit more. But he said, for me, if we're going to do it the same way, I'm not going to do it again. I would rather use hotels, because that way we get in, get a shower, you're relaxed, you go to the bar, you have a beer, again, relax and enjoy the process. For me, this rushing to set up the campgrounds and rushing in the morning, it wasn't enjoyable. So anyway, that's it. Everybody likes it or doesn't like it. It's your choice. but for me, it just didn't work out like I was thinking it would. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. Remember, if you want to help support what we're doing here on this channel, you can always buy a t-shirt from my website at www.livingofftheslab.com. Also, continue to support the site by linking to Twisted Throttle when you want to make a purchase from them through our website. Again, there'll be links in the description of this video. Again, that really helps us out as well, helps to pay for the website fees and the cost of doing all these videos and stuff, because they're not free. I mean, let me tell you, I do it out of love, but it's not free. So anyway, that helps a lot, really appreciate it. Also, you can donate to Homes for Our Troops from my website. Again, www.livingofftheslab.com. See you next time, ride safe.